from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Mauro, and with me today is Mike Walsh. Hey Mike.
Hey Jen, how are you this lovely? We're recording this on the Friday before Super Bowl. So when people listen to this, the people who listen to it on Sunday on Domestic Church Media, at that time, I believe we will be 2 hours before kickoff. And the people who are listening to this on the feed or on Monday, they will already know how sad and or happy I am.
Exactly. Just you? Just Mike Walsh. Everybody else?
I'm only concerned with me at the moment.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, today was a big day for me, Mike, talking about the Super Bowl, because I went to a store on the way to work that opened up at 8 o'clock in the morning and bought an Eagles shirt just so, because we're allowed to dress down in support of the Eagles. So jeans and a shirt. And as I bought the shirt, I realized it's the first sports shirt I have ever bought for myself. I have bought gifts for other people that are sports shirts, but I've never bought myself a sports shirt. And I found that quite surprising, but not really.
Well, I mean, you've lived in New Jersey for how long?
25 years. Oh, 22 years. 22 years.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that.
I know, the
That
3 years makes a
that
difference.
3 year bump, yeah, really made a difference.
Yeah.
And considering you lived in what you claim is Central Jersey, but what I know is North Jersey, you have been in the hub of sports of every denomination living here. And never once have you ever owned a sport like Giants, Jets, Devils,
Nope. No, because the only
Rangers.
sports I grew up with living in Texas was obviously, Cowboys and the Rangers baseball team. And I went to all the Rangers games, but I was never like this certain player or that certain player, even though I did grow up during the Nolan Ryan days. So that was outstanding to go to all those
Sure.
games, but I never bought a shirt or owned a shirt. I just liked the game. So yeah, the only actual sports anything that I personally own that is a Longhorns jacket from my grandfather, because my grandfather went to UT. So
This is fascinating.
when he died, I got the jacket. It's orange with the Longhorns on it. And I've gotten some hand-me-downs of my dad's Notre Dame Fighting Irish sweatshirts.
Okay, that's one. I appreciate a good hand-me-down. Those are always good. Have you ever been to a sporting event in the greater New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia area?
Yeah, when I first moved to the East Coast, I went to a lot of Yankees games because I said I'm a baseball person. But then, growing up in Arlington, you went like 10 minutes and you were at the Ranger Stadium. Going to the East Coast, it was like a 2-hour adventure to get to the Yankee Stadium. So I didn't go to too many games after I realized like this is a real pain. But now that I'm in South Jersey and live 20 minutes from 3 stadiums, I should be going. I should be going to the Flyers, going to the Eagles, I guess, and I should be going to the Phillies. I said I guess only because
I'm sure
football is my least favorite sport.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, we like what we like. Who am I to cast aspersions? I don't understand it, but I'm not going to cast aspersions about it.
Anyway, I'm wearing the Eagles shirts. That was the point of this conversation.
Yeah, I know. It's just unfathomable to someone like myself. I've never known anyone to have never owned a piece of sporting garment from a professional team before. This is first for me. My grandparents had, gear. Just shocked. That's all. Dumbfounded, some might say.
Not speechless, though. Are you speechless?
That has very rarely ever happened. Well, I can only hope now that I've caught wind of the fact that people around here are inviting you to spend time with them. I know you're doing. I was informed that you're doing a Galentine's. You're basically breaking into some friend circles Galentine's, and I'm like, that's good. Well, maybe they'll take you to a Phillies game or Eagles game or Flyers game.
Maybe. No, I've been to a Flyers game. We went to a hockey
I've been to
right?
Okay.
Didn't you take me to a hockey game with other members of the diocese.
Oh yeah. Well, that wasn't that. I didn't take you. That was we got tickets from our one of our ad reps gave us tickets to a Super Box game. You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That is right. So you have
That
been
was
to a
my
Flyers game.
that was
There
my
you go.
first professional hockey game ever, I believe, actually.
Hmm. I recommend it. That was a bad year for the Flyers, but the sport is still fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun.
So
It was
anyway, it's been. I will admit for our listeners that in this general vicinity, I'm pretty much just focused on the Eagles Super Bowl at this point. So I'm not sure if anything else has been going on in the news universe and any Catholic or secular or otherwise. Has anything been going on in the world, Jen, that I should be aware of?
Oh goodness. Wait. Secular or non-secular? There's too many secular things. Let's just talk about we have Catholic Press Month this month.
Hey, we do have Catholic Press Month this month. Hey, guess what, everybody? This episode was originally going to be different. This episode I was going to interview Jen Mauro as the one-on-one as the managing editor for the Catholic Star Herald and a woman in a leadership position in the Catholic Church, and she absolutely refused. so,
That's
so
true.
she
I did.
refused to be interviewed. Just surprised me because I'm her boss and I'm supposed to be able to make her do stuff, but apparently that is not the case. So that one
You
didn't happen.
you told me unless I can come up with something in 24 hours. And what did I do?
You came up with
I
a
did.
annoyingly good idea. That is
Yeah.
true.
I always like it
Yeah.
when you say that. When you say, I forgot what your email said. It's something like, unfortunately, that actually is a really good idea.
Sad to say it is,
Yeah.
even though it involves one of the more irritating people in my life.
I know.
Um,
We haven't had her on in forever. And
I
it's
know
a treat.
it is
So,
well, the treat's been not seeing her for like 2 months,
I know
but
it's been a long time,
it
actually.
hasn't been a while.
Too long.
So is anything going on in the Catholic faith that we need to be aware of?
Well,
Wow,
I'm
that
just
is
the editor of the
disturbing.
paper. What do you want from me?
I'm pretty sure we put out an entire paper based on that very subject.
We did, but I
No, it's
actually, now that you bring it up, I do want to give a shout out to the CFR sisters because our friends the CFR sisters who run the Code Blue shelter in Atlantic City. We do have a really nice photo package and a story about them in our most recent issue, but also they're really, really needing volunteers to help at the Code Blue shelter.
yeah,
And that is just such a beautiful ministry. We had the CFR sisters to talk about that on last year, I think around this time. And they're just in real need of, especially overnight volunteers. So anybody that is, in the Atlantic City area or not, I know people from the Diocese of Trenton who go over to Atlantic City to help out. It's just a beautiful ministry, serving food, getting to know the clients, and then it's lights out pretty early. Everybody just sleeps through the night. And they just need somebody to keep watch, make sure everything's good, help the guys out in the middle of the night if somebody needs, something. So please think about volunteering your time to the CFR sisters.
yeah. You can certainly read. I think the Catholic Star Herald has done at least two, maybe three articles about the Code Blue shelter that the CFR sisters run. So you can certainly check out the Catholic Star Herald's website to learn more about that. The CFR sisters, have some pretty unique charisms, and one of those charisms is stay the heck off the internet. So don't try emailing them. Don't try going to their website. This is one where you're going to have to check out the Catholic Star Herald to learn more about it. But it's what they do there is great, and it's really only during the winter that they're sheltered. They've been asked to do this shelter year round. Matter of fact, we had a podcast. Come to think of it, we had a podcast episode on them with them last year where they go into depth. So you can certainly look up that prior episode as well.
I literally said
Um,
that. Did you just tune out when I started talking?
well,
It
you
happens.
I've been in your presence before.
To be honest, I tune out sometimes when I'm talking.
Yeah. That's funny. But well, you know what? Thanks for calling me out on it. I appreciate that, Jim. That's
I
very
thought
kind of
about
you.
not doing it, and then I thought, nah, I'm gonna do it.
Nah, that's fair.
And
That's
then
all right.
also something to keep in mind is, and this story is online already as well, but we have some not New Jersey non-public schools legislation coming up soon about uh increasing the per pupil allotment so that full-time nurses can be in all non-public
Mhm.
schools as well. So if you either just go to the NJCC website, look for the action alert, because our lawmakers and the governor really need to hear from you, from everybody, so that our Catholic schools and all non-public schools have the same benefits as a public school when it comes to nursing.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. No, that's true.
I picked the
We
hard hitting.
are beginning the budget season.
Mhm.
So and even, if you have other interests for the New Jersey legislature to focus on, feel free to write a letter to your representative, because this is the time to do it if you're looking for funding for whatever your concerns are. All right. I've wasted enough time.
Let's bring in our guests.
Jen's dumb idea. My least favorite subject, love. um, so, so so we are having a guest on who's been on, honestly, too many times. But more importantly, we're having her husband on, who has never been on and happens to be one of my favorite people on the face of the earth. So I'm going to introduce him first. And joining us today is Joe Britt, the far better half of Donna Ottaviano-Britt, who is I don't know, she's the secretary or something in the diocese. And Joe has been married to her for quite some time. And thank you, by the way, Joe, for your sacrifice by taking a bullet for some other guy. When we were coming up with it, what is it? Actually, as I'm starting to rant, Jen, what is the topic of today's podcast?
Yeah, so thank you for asking, Mike. So National Marriage Week is recognized across the nation as February 7th through the 14th, of course, Valentine's Day. And then World Marriage Day is on February 9th, also known as Super Bowl Sunday to some of us on this podcast. And so, we thought that this, the whole point of that week and the day and the church is to focus on building, a culture of life and love, and promoting marriages. And so I was thinking last night, oh my goodness, this is starting right away. Who could we get on that I know that is a great couple, that is just a good example of marriage and love and friendship? And that's when I thought about Donna and Joe. So, and not only that, they might have some experience and stories and advice to share, and yeah, just talk about marriage. That's what I thought. Talk about love.
Ugh. So, Joe, thank you very much for joining the podcast. Welcome, by the way.
Huh? Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be here. About an hour and a half ago, I think it is, that Donna said, "Oh, by the way, can you do me a favor?" I said, "Sure. What do you want, hon? Would you go on this podcast with Jen and Mike?" I said, "Okay." So here I am talking about love and marriage. That's the scoop, right?
That's the scoop. You nailed it. So you've probably heard Joe mentioned many times. Joe was actually semi-featured during the pandemic many times while Donna had her pandemic show that eventually turned into her Joyful Disciple show, and that you can find on our Talking Catholic YouTube channels. But the irony was that he would be referenced in many of these videos. You'd see him in many of these videos, and he was never allowed to speak. And there was a hashtag that became semi-famous during that time period that just said hashtag let Joe speak. And this finally is the opportunity to let Joe speak. So thank you, Joe, for joining us.
You're very welcome. After this request from Donna that I would be on this podcast, I did take a walk, and I thought to myself, okay, dear God, what am I supposed to do with this? And these are some of my thoughts. I thought, God, why is Donna so kind-hearted that I'm so fortunate? And he said, not that often God speaks to me, and he said, in order for you to love her. And I said, well, okay, is that why she's such a good cook? And he says, again, in order to love her. And all that her love and devotion to her faith, it's in order for you to love her. I said, okay, and I'm very grateful for that. But God, why is it sometimes does she strike me as not being real bright? And he said, and God said, that was in order for her to love you.
Oh, I'm married to a card. So you should know now that this is what our life is like around here. Because I laugh in this house every single day because Joe is funny.
Joe is funny.
Joe is funny, and I love him partly because he's funny.
Just partly.
Partly.
And even though she didn't wait till I actually introduced her,
Oh, right. I do it.
that's Donna.
Yeah.
So, Donna, what? Just since I'll never ever get it right, what's your title again in the diocese?
So I'm the director of the Office of Discipleship and Leadership, but I also
There we
lead the Secretariat for Pastoral Outreach for the diocese.
There we go. Too many words. I can't remember them all.
I know,
But
right?
Thank you for joining us yet again.
We're delighted.
All right. So the first thing I want to ask the two of you is, just because people I'm sure are curious, how long have you two? Well, I guess the question is, well, how long have you two been married? How long have you guys been a couple? I'm sure it's longer than that, but how long have you guys been married?
At the end of December, we celebrated our 23rd wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay, 23.
Wait, hold on. You guys are 23. I'm at 25. Jen, what are you at?
15.
15. Okay. And you, of course, have known your husband far longer than that as well, Jen, right?
Known him longer than 15? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Known each other for about 20 years.
Okay. So the point is, all of us who are on this podcast know what a ridiculous human construct love is and how it's completely superfluous to any of us living our lives. I'm just curious, Jen, is that, by the way, what the goal of this week is?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm really already surprised you're talking so much since this is your least favorite topic.
Because I'm so
here you are.
angry.
Are you angry with this topic?
I'm angry with it. So with that being said, knowing that I am not the person who should ever talk about love, I'm letting the listeners know now, from this point forward, you will hear less from me. You're welcome. Happy Valentine's Day.
Stop. All right. Well, so now we know how long you're married. How did you guys meet?
Okay.
I love it. I have to tell you, I love this story. So I lived around the corner from Joe's mom in Philly. She's this little older white-haired lady that would sit outside her house in the spring, in the summer, and the fall. And I would wave as I walked by with my golden retriever. And then in year two, I finally walk across the street, and we exchanged names, and she knows I live on this certain street, etc. And in year three, I'm doing the same thing. I know she's Jean. She knows I'm Donna. And then she goes missing from sitting outside in her little chair. And one day I meet Joe and he's walking inside and he's carrying groceries. I'm like, excuse me, your mom. I'm like, I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. Where has she been? He said, well, she was hospitalized and she went to my sister's for a couple of weeks. And I was not dating at the time, but I will tell you, I was looking at him going, geez, he's really cute. And so my poor 8-year-old golden retriever got walked a lot until I could manage to run into him again, which actually took a couple of months before I would run into him again. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to walk down. He had told me what street he lived on. I was like, well, I can't be just meandering on down there in broad daylight. So I just walked my dog a lot. So that's actually where it started. That's how I met him. Talking about his mom. And then eventually one summer day, he rolls up alongside of me on his bicycle and we go for coffee, and that's how it started. It was great.
So cute.
So cute.
I know. I feel like there's going to be a lot of awing on this podcast for me. Mike, you might have to interject for some of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mike
just got a thumbs down.
Mike is not going to be doing a lot of awing on this. We can already tell.
Yeah. Oh.
Wiping some tears from his eyes.
Not Mike.
So, Joe, from your point of view, you saw her as well, and obviously she was walking the dog all of the time trying to find you. There's a little morsel in the back of your mind saying, I wonder who that woman was?
My mom pointed her out to me. inside the house one time. I was bringing the groceries in because my dad also, he was confined up on the second floor with his illness. But one day my mom said, "Oh, that's that girl I was telling you about? Isn't she pretty?" I said, "Yes." I said, "She's beautiful." And she said, "Well, she's too young for you." That's what she said. I said, "Oh, okay." So now it's like a bit of not a challenge, but I put that in the back of my head. Like, okay, I'm being told that she's off limits, I suppose. But one day I'm planting tomato plants in front of my mom's house, and she walked past, and it was the first opportunity I had to talk to her, and her eyes were beautiful. So anyway, yep. Again, my mom said, we talked about it, but she was out of the question. There's 16 years difference in our age. But there's a Saturday night where I'm fairly observant. And
Oh, you're going to tell this story? Oh boy.
Right. So I'm coming home. In fact, I had a date, and I dropped the person off, and I'm driving over to our home, or my home, at Longshore Avenue, and I see Donna walking past my house with her golden retriever, looking down the driveway of my home. And I said, "Mom's wrong." There's no way she's checking that driveway out, So that morning, I see her again walking the dog, and I can't how am I going to do this? I run to the garage because she already turned the block, city streets. So I know I can't just, "Hey, how you doing there?" So I grabbed a bicycle, and it had a flat tire, but thankfully she's not that observant. But I drive this bike like I'm out exercising, and all that stuff. I said, "Hey, hiya, Donna," and Donna mentioned that there was something that was really heavy in her yard that she needed moved from one location of the yard to the other. I said, I could do that for you. She said, "Well, it's heavy. It's what a setup, well, and I said, and we could go out and have a cup of coffee. And that's how it got started.
So between a bicycle with a flat tire and a heavy statue in the yard that needed to be moved, it was all a scam.
Yeah, it was all, So I waited for her to continue walking her dog, and then I walked the bike back, to the flat tires on an old English racer. So I tucked that away, and I thought, okay, I gotta throw on some Old Spice or whatever the heck I had, and go out and have a cup of coffee.
That was how we started.
Or Brute, or whatever it was.
That's perfect.
That is the perfect Philly love story. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, something Mike likes. Okay, we told a silly love story. That's good.
Yeah,
I'm happy
I
about
like that. That made me very happy.
I think your mom may have had something a little to do with that by challenging you in a way by saying, "Oh no," and then she may have had a little subliminal thing in the back. Tell him what he can't do and see what happens.
My mom loved Donna.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved her, and even towards the end of my mom's life, that's another story. We're married now, but my mom is on her deathbed. It's only a couple of days before she died. We come in, and very devoted, loved the Blessed Mother. She was born on 1917, feast day of Immaculate Conception, December 8th. Her name was Mary Regina.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But we go in, Donna's on one side of the bed, I'm on the other side. And she, as weak as she was, she reaches up and she touches her cheeks, and "I'm so happy to see you. I love you." And I said, "Hey, Mom." I said, "I'm here." And she says, "Yes." She said, "And Joseph, you give her anything she ever wants." I said, "Okay." And I said, "Are you sure you got this mixed up? You're supposed to be saying that to her about me." And she put a little arthritic finger. She said, "I'm serious, Joseph. Whatever she wants, you do."
Yeah. So she
That's a
passed.
smart mom.
Yeah, she passed away in 2011. So And Joe does that. He does exactly all these years what his mother
Yeah.
asked him to do. But if there's ever a
Mm.
discussion about something I might like, all I have to do is wag my finger to remind him.
The little
What-
index finger.
Yes, what Mary Regina said.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't get the finger wag today, but I think about it. I said, I don't want to do that with Mike and Jen. She would have probably given me that little, no, you would, with that little index finger coming up. That's my mom's story. And
Well, thank you,
That's
Mrs.
beautiful.
Britt, for for the finger so that you guys came on the podcast today.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the way. That's our our love story
It's a beautiful
in
story.
in a nutshell. You know, she's a great
And you-
woman,
And
and
you
she
know,
recognized one. Yeah?
and she recognize, yeah, you go. And it's, our listeners can't see you guys, but the way you guys look at each other, it's obviously that, there's so much love there.
Yeah.
And, what do you, when you first got married or first met, like I'm just thinking about myself, like, did you ever have like a mixed up idea of love, right? Because like when you first fall in love or something, there's the butterflies. And then when the butterflies start going away, you think something's wrong. And it's like, oh my gosh, but you're a testament that no, you keep the work going and the way you look at each other. Like, what would you tell other couples to say, uh, what love really is?
What would I say? Stand on your own 2 feet. Don't, if you're having difficulties with your marriage, you got to take a look at yourself, and if it's a problem between a couple, then if you can't straighten it out through the advice of somebody you trust, and not for younger people, not your mommy and your daddy, but somebody who's going to be interested in your welfare and not being prejudiced towards one or the other. And if you have to, you seek some professional. You don't let marriages fail because you're unhappy. If that's your question, that would be my advice. Just do what you need to do. Before we got married, we needed to straighten out a few things. I didn't want to get married, but until I wanted to get married, she didn't want to get married at all. She had enough of that, romance. But to marry her, and we had to straighten a few things out. And we ended up developing this idea that I have my pile, she has her pile, and then there's other piles. So if you want to jump into that other pile and get all messy, that's my business or your business. And whatever your pile is, you have to take care of it. I take care of what I have the problems with. I'm not, if that's a good example, but that's what we've utilized. So in my opinion. And
Yeah.
that
The
whole
other-
idea of the whirling dervishes.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
talking to
We
you.
talk about whirling dervishes, right? And the commitment that we made. So deep and abiding friendship, I think, has a lot to do with our relationship because we're married 23 years, but we knew each other 5 years before we got married. Is this whole idea of the world is filled with whirling dervishes, and they are all manner of things. And so what we knew we wanted in our married life and our life together is that it's okay that the world is filled with whirling dervishes as long as they're outside the door. Like we don't bring whirling dervishes in with us and we don't allow them in the house, right? So all of those things that can be so unsettling to a relationship. Like, I think it was Fulton Sheen who I had heard maybe say it the first time is like, what is love? It's an act of self-donation to the other. And I love that so much. So it's like, and sometimes it's unbalanced in this house. I think Joe does a lot more active self-donation to the other, than I do some days. But we knew we wanted a peaceful home, a home that was filled with love and with friendship. It isn't that we don't have challenges or disagreements, but how we approach them, I think matters a great deal, out of respect for one another and love for one another.
I'm glad you brought that up about because Bishop Barron says something all the time just like that, which I actually think might be from St. Augustine, is willing the good of the other as other. That's what he's always talking about, what love is. Willing the good of the other as other. Not how you want them to be, but, and that really is a lot of self-giving love and self-sacrifice. Because you're not trying to change that person. You're meeting where they're at and you're giving them what they need.
Right. To love them as God created them.
Right.
Right. So not create Joe for the way Donna wants Joe to be, but can I love Joe exactly like the Lord made him in his own unique and unrepeatable design? And I have often said the greatest gift I have ever received from God, and I have received many, is Joe as my husband.
See, I knew when I went into pre-Cana, my priest screwed me up because I didn't hear any of that stuff. What I heard was the only thing I took away from pre-Cana, and it was my own fault. Sorry about that. It was my own fault for saying it out loud. was, was he asked, "What's the nature? What's the nature of marriage?" And I said, "I don't know. Get the other person into heaven." He goes, "Yeah, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. That's your job. Get her into heaven." So now I'm locked in. I can't. I'm like, it's
You
like.
are.
You are.
So one
you
of us
are.
kicks off. That's all I got to focus on is, all right, fine. I got to get her into heaven.
Gotta get her into heaven. She
Yeah.
has bigger to do than you do.
Oh, I know. She's got all the heavy lifting. Don't get me wrong. 100. Why do you think I work for the church? I had to offload some of the work off of her. It's like now I have an entire village working at it.
Yes, you do.
But okay. Jen, did you have any brilliant recommendations in your early years of people tell you like something that like somebody who was married for a while? You can get any good advice?
No.
Yeah, there you go. That's not shocking.
No. Jen, you must have a nugget.
No. I have no nuggets. No, not at all. But I will say this, and I think about the whirling dervishes. I think that's very difficult to do. So hats off to you guys. I'm gonna have to really give that one some thought. But you did mention, friendship. And I remember how my husband and I would always joke, actually always joke about how even when when we were dating, but even when we got married, you're a friend, but you're not my best friend. Like I got my best friend here and he's got his best friend here. And it was kind of a joke that we said. And because I don't know why. I guess maybe we just didn't want to feel we're both independent people. We got married in our 30s and I don't know. But I will definitely tell you, I do not know what marriage would be without friendship because he is my best friend. When I don't see him for, we live apart right now because of job. So we have 2 living quarters. So it's difficult. It's really difficult not seeing and being with your best friend every day. Like
I just want to know how many people who are listening to the podcast just went separate living places. That sounds awesome.
you're probably right.
Because I guarantee you, somebody listening to this said that right now.
Yeah, like but he is my best friend, and I don't know if like, do you encounter a lot of couples who've looked at about marriage like that? Like, are couples their best friends? Do you think? Are you guys each other's best friend?
We best friends with. I
Each
can't
other.
hear.
With
Yeah,
each other.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I trust Donna, and we can talk about things, and she settles me down a lot because the dervishes do intrude on my life more than it does Donna's, or at least if the dervishes are bothering her, she doesn't let me know. That all came from a story about a guy who's supposed to be a brilliant individual who lived up on a mountain, and somebody climbed up the mountain to talk to this man because he had such wisdom and prudence and all the virtues that one would want. And he went into the tent and he asked the wise man, "What do you do with all those whirling dervishes outside of the tent?" He says, "I let them whirl." And I thought, and that's pretty interesting. So one time I wanted to buy a picture of whirling dervishes and hang them on the wall, but we don't have enough wall space with the number of pictures on it.
I didn't want the Whirling Dervishes artwork.
Well, do you know what a whirling dervish is?
Oh yeah, I've seen them in
Yeah,
Istanbul.
they spin around. They're pretty sharp.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
so,
it's kind of like a little bit of a mantra. I mean, God plays a very large role in our marriage, but it's like, okay, is that a whirling dervish? Did they creep through the door? Who left the door open to let them in? Like, that's just kind of how we talk about stuff that we find unsettling. You know, things in the world, things in families, things with friends. So we just kind of, that's a dervish and it's whirling and we should get it back out on the porch.
So how do you, but that doesn't mean you don't have problems, like you said, and that doesn't mean you don't talk about things, right? So like, how do you address the whirling dervishes, but make sure they're not coming between you two?
Yeah. I think we talk about a lot of things. We have very comfortable conversation. It doesn't mean one of us doesn't get worked up about something. The thing that I would say about us is we do not get spun up over the same thing. And I have always been grateful for that, because if we were both like, escalating around the same topic, I'm not sure what it would be like here, right? But I get spun up around different things that Joe does. He's a very sort of calming influence around many things. So I think that's a benefit to us. But you can't ignore dervishes. You can't ignore the things that happen in our lives, right? Like we've talked about his mom and when she passed away. And, my brother died 13 years ago. And we've gone through like these really sad things or hard things. And it's like, you have to talk about it, and you have to be able to share what you're sad about or what's annoying. Like, oh, I wouldn't have chosen that paint color, which we just actually went through that 2 weeks ago. Joe went out, who's colorblind, went out and picked a vibrant shade of yellow to paint a room. And I was like,
Banana yellow.
Yo, it's like banana yellow.
I thought I'd surprise her. Paint the room, and I could tell as soon as she walked in, she said, that's nice.
I'm like,
That's
it's good.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
small room.
okay.
It's all right.
I could change it again. No, it's okay.
No, it's good.
So,
Aw. Was it
Well,
was it vault colored yellow by any chance?
was it the yellow that I have in the vault, Donna? Was that nice? Burn your retinas yellow?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Get your attention. Yellow. It's
Okay.
vibrant. But it's a small room and it's okay. And we put other things in there. So it actually looks kind of nice now. It's fine. I got used to it.
Joe, I think you did a great. I don't even know what it is. I think you did a great job. Thank you for your service.
Which is ironic because you're wearing an Eagle shirt, Mike, that also looks like a military shirt.
Yeah, it looks like camo.
Well,
It
that's
looks like
because
camo.
it's their Veterans Day stuff that they come out with. Yeah, every early November, the NFL has salute to service, and so this was their salute to service. They have a little thing in there. It's a little
Very
salute to
nice.
service thing. So, yeah. Sorry to the listeners who can't see what I'm wearing. Just know that I look very handsome.
you look great.
Yeah, you look excellent, Mike.
Thank you, Joe. I don't trust the women, but I believe you,
Like
Joe.
you're ready to suit up.
That's right. Whatever's required.
Eagles.
So we're talking about that also. Let's just dive into the whirling dervishes, not the Eagles. How important is prayer in your marriage?
It's far more important to Donna than me. The way I see it. Donna. I'm a short prayer guy. He's like, come on, God, just help her out, help him out, help it. I don't get into, rote. I just don't. And it's not. Donna's prayerful and she reads Magnificat, but she'll put stuff bring it to my attention. How about taking a look at as the meditation for the day, and I have other support systems that way, not necessarily a spiritual sense, but not a sense. But one of the other things that get to know Donna is I wasn't going to mass, and Presentation Church was right down the street from Mom. So I was only a block away from my mom's, and in the window where my mom sat, I could see her crossing the street to go over to mass. And I thought, I know what I'm going to start doing. I got to get to mass. She goes at 10 o'clock mass. So I start bumping into her. Hey, you going to mass too? So that's how we, so we went to mass together. And then the Father John McFadden, he was a wonderful man. He married us. And so prayer is important, but I'm happy with my prayer life. It's not real deep, but God, so far that she leaves for work, I pray, just come on, God, take care of her,
That story is great, Joe. And I'll tell you why, because I too, like yourself, am not a prayer warrior. But hearing that story, it still sounds like faith was very important to that relationship, particularly in the beginning times. And I know that the same was how mine kicked off too. It was very faith oriented at the beginning of my relationship with my wife. I think that irrespective of like what your individual spirituality is and how it manifests itself in your Catholic faith, because there's so many different forms it can take. I think you will always find some way, at least I have found the case to be, and my mother and father are excellent indicators of this, that you will find that without even having to try, if you're open to it, faith will find its way of seeping into your relationship and acting as a either an anchor or a life vest from time to time, whichever you need more in that particular moment.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's true. But the story he tells about, because we were dating for a couple months, I knew he didn't go to mass. You know, he was raised a Catholic, but I knew he didn't go, and I would never ask. So the one day I'm walking down the street and I'm like, because he's, for as long as I've known him, he's had a full head of gray hair. And I was looking and I'm like, is that him standing at the bridge? And so there he was one Sunday, you know, to go to mass with me, and went every Sunday after that till now, you know, so we still go to mass every Sunday. We say grace at home with every meal. And that was a number of years ago. He said, you know, we do this at home. We should do this when we're out. I was like, me, all squirrely. I was like in the restaurant, you mean? He's like, yeah, we should do it. So we do. And that's him.
That's good.
That's him.
Look at you.
Well,
Look at you.
a lot of gratitude, you know, you have to have gratitude, you know, and that is,
And you have to say it like that too, by the way. You have to say gratitude.
Gratitude.
I'm so happy right now that you said that. Thank you for that.
yeah. And who's the source of gratitude? God, you know, so.
Yeah. We keep a jar here. And over the course of the year, it's gratitude jar, and we put little slips of paper in there over the course of the year when things that we're grateful for happen to us. And we open the jar on New Year's Day to read them to each other. You know, so it's a lovely habit. Joe would tell you, I fill out most of the slips of paper, which is probably true, you know, so, but it's so wonderful to be grateful, because God really gives us a lot, even when he gives us something to suffer through. You know, we've certainly had our share of that in all the years we've known each other. It's like, there's something in there though, that he tests us, that we can grow through it. And how faithful are we? So the gratitude jar is really, I love having it. It's a big giant mason jar on the kitchen island with all these little slips of paper in it. It was really grand to open it on New Year's Day. And
That's cool.
I save them. I don't get rid of them. I save them.
How often has my name appeared on one of them?
You know, Mike, I'm pretty sure you're not in my jar ever.
Right. All right.
I'll put something in there.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. Mike Walsh invited me on to my very first podcast, and then I'm going to get to read that out loud to him January 1st.
And you would say, don't forget Jen.
When I would say, no, I'll
Yeah.
put Jen in there.
Thank you.
Well, the best part was when I really wish I was recording this for video, because every time Donna talks about struggle, she points directly at Joe. It's just so hysterical to watch. I know you're not the struggle, Joe. Trust me.
I don't know.
What you got next, Jen? I'm not asking questions.
Oh, you're not asking any questions?
Mm-mm.
Well, I was gonna
Saw your list.
bounce something off of you, Donna, but based on something y'all said, but I already forgot. So, because it's just too much goodness, too much good content. You guys, what do you do for date nights? How do you keep things fresh? I was telling Donna earlier, my husband and I go to Home Depot together. That's it. I'm like, hey, you want to go to Home Depot? He's like, actually, yeah, I do. We get our coffees and we walk around Home Depot. Sometimes that's our date night.
Hey, how fun is that? Listen, we've been known to go to the ShopRite and thoroughly enjoy walking up and down the aisles, filling the cart. I don't like to do it by myself. I'd much rather go with him, you know, but I don't know. I think there's a newness that we find in life and things that we can come to appreciate. So in the last, it was 2 summers ago, actually, where my birthday is in the summer. So Joe bought me a hummingbird feeder. I'm like, okay, we'll fill it with sugar water and we'll see what we get. And so we hung it out front in the front garden where the flowers are. And the hummingbird showed up 2 summers ago. I was like delirious. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, these little hummingbirds. So now I'm addicted to hummingbirds. And so last year, we like dug out part of the front lawn. We ordered Joe ordered all manner of flowers. They came entirely too early last
They
winter.
attract hummingbirds.
Yeah. So the kinds of plants that they like. And the plants got delivered way too early. So now we're like rigging, you know, in front of windows where these little baby plants can live until it's safe enough to go out. And we love sitting on the porch. We had 2 this year. We've got 3 feeders and all of these plants. And so it's kind of like it became my thing. He bought the gifts, but then I became addicted, and then he bought all the flowers. And so we love watching them. They come in the summer. So I think like there's Home Depot. I love the Home Depot with the coffee. I think it's great. Ours is ShopRite, but in the last 2 summers, it's become like season of hummingbirds. There's hummingbird art in the house now. So I can have hummingbirds around when it's winter, So I think you learn to sort of love the things that the other one loves, and kind of contribute to that and love it with them. So I think loving the things that the other loves, I think, is also important.
And I think that's what happened with the Home Depot, because I hate house projects. But when we started having to work on the house, because my husband would always be like, "Here, hold these nails while I do this," and I would be like, I could do more than that. I can do this." And he's like, "Well, do you know how to put up, plaster? Well, no. Or sheetrock? No. Okay, then here, hold these nails." And I was like, "All right, no, it's truth." But then, when we would start going to Home Depot and he would explain them to me, and then I saw it through his eyes because he does construction, I was like, "Oh, actually, Home Depot can be fun. Let's go daydream there," and I think that's what happened, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So you come to love what the other loves, right? This act of self-donation to the other is loving what they love too.
Yeah.
So there's a life.
All right.
My husband.
Oh, Mike is having a stroke.
When I went to see New Kids on the Block during the summer, my 1990s boy band obsession, Anthony was actually, my husband was actually bummed he did not come with me, because he said he loved seeing how excited and ridiculous I get. And he was like, "Call me as soon as you get out, because I want to hear what a good time you had." He does not listen to that music, but anytime he knows I'm coming home, if he's home before me, that is what is playing in our house. So when I walk in the door, and I'm like, you're too much. But you're right. It's loving the other as other.
That's what I think, right? And that's how I never heard of Fortescue. And that's how we wound up going to Fortescue, is because Joe loves Fortescue.
Yeah.
He loves the quiet. He loves the Bay Beach. He loves the sound of the, much smaller waves lapping up onto the sand there. It's where we discovered, like, oh, look, horseshoe crabs come in the millions, in the spring, and save the turtles after they go lay their eggs and they can't get back. And so he loves it out there. So we go out there a couple of times a year. That's what he loves.
And you save them. You save the horseshoe crabs by turning them over.
Yes, we did. So they can get back in the ocean.
Which also appeared on the pages of the Catholic Star Herald.
Yes, it did. Jen's like, "Can you send me a photo of that?"
Yeah, and they've been around since before the dinosaurs, So it had a lady that lives down there full time. She said, "All these foolish people come down there, they flipping these things. They're very capable of taking care of themselves. I don't know why people flip them."
She's lived there all her life. She's in her 80s. She's like, "I don't understand you people." We're like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. I feel like I'm saving something."
Exactly.
I'm
Let
saving.
me do my routine.
Yeah.
I would just like to point out that I've been to grocery stores and Lowe's and Home Depot and all sorts of places, and I never realized I was on a date with my wife when I did that. I thought we were shopping. But hey, listen, I've learned something new today.
We'll see what Jennifer has to say about those being dates.
Here tonight, ask Jennifer this weekend about. I'd love to hear the answer. We're going to need a podcast update next week. Please talk to Jennifer about this.
Yes.
Yeah, you all have met my wife, right? It's like, this is not a topic of conversation in my household. We're both firstborns, and she's an A-type personality, and I don't know what the heck I am. And so, like, this stuff is everything you said is so far is like a mystery, except for Joe. Except for Joe. Everything Joe says has made perfect sense. The fact that he used the Catholic Church as his personal dating app as a way of getting a girl. I'm like, that all makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Girl.
This other stuff, the stuff the ladies are saying, I have no clue of.
In retrospect, there's my mom sitting at that window saying a rosary every day.
Yeah.
I never left that house without her saying, "God bless you. Say your prayers." "Okay, Mom." I get in the car. She had a holy water font, but she would sprinkle me with water, until she was unable to really walk and get that, get to the water. But she would say, "Make sure you bless yourself." So all that stuff. I just don't know. I got this green scarf that if I was more prepared, I could grab it and show you. It's a long green scarf that my Aunt Florentine, which was my mom's sister, made for me. All right. Every cross stitch was a Hail Mary.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Aunt Tina's been gone for 20 some years. But I mean, that's so all those influential people have a positive effect.
And look at all
I'll
the
be honest
prayers.
with you.
Look at all the prayers that
just-
have been said for us by these people. My mom prays. I'm sure my brother intercedes for us from heaven because my brother and Joe got along great, you know. So I mean, we've got a lot of prayers. We got a lot of people in our corners.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking about. That sounds to me like the key to a good marriage is Joe's mom. So it's like, I believe if dear listeners, if you want to have a good marriage, pray to Joe's mom. Ask for her intercession.
Yeah.
She insisted on prayers. Please, when I go, make sure you pray for me, you know, to get out of purgatory.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's a good woman right there.
But even that, like even my own mom, like we leave her, she's still in Philly, lives by herself, and she's like, "I love you, Joe. I love you, Donna." Like it's just, we got people.
Yeah.
We have people, and we need to remember we have people.
We just had a couple come over 50 some years. I haven't seen them. They just came over for dinner the other day. It's just by happenstance, got in touch with him. So they came to dinner. He's a deacon in the church, but and his wife, I knew him in high school at dances, you know, and I used to hang out with him. And then we lost touch all these years. Went by and bumped into him, and they
Came
came.
to dinner.
And we had
Lovely.
a pleasant time. We'll get
Yeah.
together again in April.
Mhm.
Well, couples and individuals. I mean, I can't, tell me how many times well, there's pre-Cana classes that teach it that, when you're getting married, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with other faith-based couples or individuals who can walk with you in that process and afterward. And we have couple friends who are much older than us and much younger than us that we lean on, for strength, for friendship, for everything. Like it is a community, just like every other vocation. A community has to be part of it.
Right.
Yep.
And even part of vocation, right? Vocation we think is a only state in life, but there's more than that, right? It's our call to holiness. It is the state in life. And what does God call you to do today? So in my call to holiness and marriage, can I reflect back to him his goodness that God has put in him? So I kind of approach most days like that. Some days I'm busy and I'm stressed, so I'm not reflecting back how good he is, but he really is.
Well, thank you.
Well,
The,
thank you both so much. I know we're running out of time. Mike, since I took up the whole thing, do you have any questions?
No, this is a stupid topic.
He knows
The
us.
truth of the matter is, first of all, I'm very happy that you guys came on because honestly, you're two of my favorite people. All kidding aside, and I really do love Joe, and you actually are a great example, great role models of married life. And I know Donna's mom was the one that said the age difference was. Oh no, your mom, Joe, was the one that said the age difference was too high. Just that was apparently the only thing she was wrong about, and everything. But I have friends, my closest friends, have the same 16-year difference, and it was perfect. It is the perfect amount of separation because it took an extra 16 years for him to become mature enough to marry this other woman or marry this woman, and they are made for each other. And every time I see you two, I think of those two, Aaron and Michael Hench. And just how perfect, once you find the right person, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, it's always going to be something weird and contrived. And there's going to be prayer involved and miracles and the Holy Spirit and everything to make that thing actually work. And then, obviously your good heartedness and your genuine caring for each other. And it really does. Like every time, Joe, you show up to an event by Donna's side, I am gleeful. Absolutely gleeful. And so thank you for constantly putting up with her nonsense and the diocesan nonsense that we foist upon her all the time. So and Donna, thank you for bringing him forward and making sure he doesn't go sideways in any way, shape, or form, and making sure his faith is good and strong. So and Jen, thank you for coming up with this cockamamie podcast idea. But and to our listeners, thank you for listening, and I hope we heard a little something out of here that was kind of cool. So have a wonderful marriage week and a happy Valentine's Day, and see you all next week. Bye, everybody.